first thing, just right off the jump, how did you end up in front of the weather wall? How did that process start? When did you realize that that was something you wanted to do?
Well, it all started as a kid. I was just so fascinated. I'm from kind of before you get to the higher mountain peaks into West Virginia, so snow was always something, I was missing so many days of school as a kid, and it just always fascinated me how we could get, sometimes 15, 20 inches of snow. And I was like, how is that possible? This really disrupts everything. So that kind of fueled my passion for it. And then obviously, severe weather was just always so fascinating to me as well. And that kind of just led to me trying to predict snow days. I'm watching the Weather Channel, watching my local TV station. And then my local TV station in West Virginia did a contest when I was in 8th grade where you create your own video of you doing a forecast, and if you won, you got to be Jason Parrish, who was our chief meteorologist back home at the time. You got to be him for the day. So I completed the video, was one of the finalists, won the contest, got to go do the weather, and I was very shy, but it was so cool seeing the behind the scenes aspect of it. I was, just rambling off what I was seeing on the screen. I was so nervous, never done anything like that before. But that kind of really had me focus, that's what I want to do. So I kept in contact with that meteorologist, and he's giving me school ideas that I could go to, what I need to focus on, studying, and eventually in college, and it led to that. So that I was kind of really inspired by my local meteorologist back home. He was really, I think, what did it for me.
And so for you, it sounded like for you it was more the meteorology, right, the science behind it, as opposed to maybe the TV side?
Yeah, it definitely was. At first, I didn't really think TV was what I was wanting to do either, because once I started talking to that meteorologist, he's like, there are so many different options. You can work for the government, you can work for energy, businesses, things like that. But my community back home is pretty small. So when people got to realize that I was really paying attention to the weather and could forecast pretty well, like in high school I was doing Facebook posts about snows coming this weekend or chances of severe weather and things like that, more people started to ask me, and I'm like, well, maybe TV could be something I wanted to do. I've done it before, even though it was very, very amateur what I did. So when I went to college, I didn't really know, but my college had a really good TV station, and I'm like, yes, TV is what I want to do. And so in college, I finally set on that. But it was the science originally that got me. I was proficient in math and science as a kid. Those are my two favorite subjects by far. So that kind of led me to it as well.
How long were you there before you came here, and then what brought you to Lexington?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I started up at the TV station I did the weather forecast in 8th grade at, which is super cool. So I was there for 2 years. I had my 2-year contract, and then I was debating, do I want to stay here forever, or do I want to go somewhere, place and different I don't know, and challenge myself. And I came to the realization, I was like, I'm not really being challenged. I know all these areas. I've been doing this since I was a kid. And then this TV station, ABC 36, reached out to me. I'd never really been to Lexington before, but it seemed like a pretty cool place. And it was just, I came down and visited, really liked it. And I was like, well, I'm kind of away from home, but not super far away. And I think it would be a good place. And ever since then, I've loved it here.
One that we love for our show, something that's specific to the weather forecasts that you provide, and we love that, is the Gaudet. What was the genesis of the Gaudet? Was it just a natural, sounding like your last name? Yeah, where did you come up with that?
Well, it's also from the meteorologist I grew up watching. He had wow days, and it was the best weather day of the week. That's the wow day. And I was working at my old TV station. I didn't want to completely take his idea, but the anchor that I was working with at that TV station also worked with Jason, the guy my mentor. And he said, well, your last name's Gaudet. He said, that kind of goes pretty well together. So I'm like, yeah, go outside, go enjoy activities, not just stay in the house all day. And I think I really like it now that I've done it for a while, because it's positive. So much of a weather forecast is like, here's the worst weather day, be prepared for the worst. We've got storms coming, we've got snow coming, but that's kind of a day that you don't have to worry about the weather, and I think that that's a different aspect that you don't get out of a lot of forecasts, I think.
Yeah, I personally appreciate it every time that I see it in the videos you provide. Like, oh, I know it's bad on Monday, Tuesday, but Dillon said Thursday was the go day, so I know I'm penciling that in for a day to be outside.
Yeah, and I never really did it as much as I do it here at my old TV station. So I've kind of made it my own since I moved to Lexington, I think. So I think that that's been beneficial. But yeah, I love the positive aspect of it because I think that that's really important in the weather forecast because, some people think, meteorologists, we have some stakes in the bread and milk, or we're getting some money when people go to the grocery stores, and do their run before the big storms. But I want to be someone that, tells you about the serious nature of storms and, when bad things are coming, but also like, here's a day, you don't have to have your weather app out, you don't have to worry about it, just go enjoy the nice weather.
We do know, next question, the TV morning crew has to keep some pretty strange hours from time to time. What's your routine like? What time do you wake up? And what time do you have to be here? And sort of what's your routine usually like on a day?
Well, the funny thing is we just had the time change, so that is really, morning news people, that feel like that's the worst for us. But my first alarm goes off at 2:30 usually on a typical day in the morning. So I try to get to bed, I shoot for 7 o'clock, just make sure I'm, phone's away, I'm trying to lay down, but that hardly ever happens. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm young, I want to enjoy myself, especially near the summertime when it's daylight, so late in the evening. But yeah, it was tough getting used to for sure, but I think because I'm young, it's gotten a little easier for me. I'm now in a routine. I've been doing the morning news now for over a year. So it's becoming more kind of, second nature for me to wake up at 2:30, which is not normal for humans to do. So, but yeah, I try to wake up at around 2:30 and then get into work at 3:30. My shift's 3:30 to 3:30 in the morning to 12:30 in the afternoon. So.
And I'm guessing those get pretty turned around whenever you do have a severe weather event, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When we had the massive wind event a couple weeks ago, my shift, I worked all day that day. And that's kind of how it is for weather, when we have either tornado systems that could have the potential for tornadoes, that's our priority is when that tornado warning gets issued, we're on. So it's weather people and the meteorologists always have to be on staff in those instances and be on location. And I look at it I would be tracking the weather if I was at work or not at work. So I'd rather be at work, have all the tools that I need. So it doesn't really mind me it doesn't bother me as much that I'm in staying extra on the weather days because it's my passion. And honestly, that's what I would recommend to somebody that's thinking about getting into this field. If weather's not your passion, then you can really struggle in this industry. But if it is your passion, then you're really given all the tools that you want for sure.
How often do you have to give weather forecasts to people in your life, to your family members or your friends? Are you basically their weather app when you're around?
Yeah, that definitely. And I've been doing that since before I studied meteorology in college. Was everybody asked me, but I like that because it shows people trust me. And another cool thing too, a lot of fairs and festivals in the summertime and things here in Kentucky reach out to us as well and try to get forecasts and that aspect of it too. So, I don't mind it. Sometimes it's when it's a huge snowstorm that's impacting everyone, I'm like, hey, it's not much different than what I'm telling this person. So, just listen to our forecast. But when it's, a festival, somebody's planning a wedding, things like that, I like to help out as much as I can.
Okay, I got some rapid fire questions for you from our staff here. Have you ever had a no day?
A no day, I have not, but I tried. We joked do we call them cruise days? Because I work with Lee Crews in the morning, so or a Lee day. That's kind of funny. Yeah, it's always the worst weather day of the week, but it gets no attention in that aspect. Yeah, but that's funny. Yeah.
Is there because we know you love the area and you're sort of close to home. Is there a dream weather market that you would just snap your fingers and want to forecast for?
Well, I'd like to. I wouldn't really call it storm chasing, but work for a national brand where I go to them and say, send me to the worst weather, I'll do live reporting. Whether that's snow, whether that's tornadoes, whether that's hurricanes, I just want to be in the worst weather because I think that's my biggest passion is doing live weather on location. So if it's in the middle of a snowstorm, I want to be out in it. Here's what's happening, the roads are super slick, the snow's coming down really fast, you can't see very far ahead of you. That's really what draws my passion is, being out in the elements.
Yeah.
Being a meteorologist, especially in a hurricane or something like that, these winds are too strong. I'm going to go inside. And I think that can add to a broadcast too. It's hey, that meteorologist was outside in the elements. Now he realizes, that this is so bad that I have to go inside. So I think that also kind of, adds to the broadcasting element too, in terms of portraying how bad the weather is in those instances.
Okay, another quick one. How competitive is the weather game? We've seen some beef on Twitter between Kentucky meteorologists in the past, so we're just curious to get your take on that.
I was not used to weather beef before I came here to Kentucky. I didn't realize how competitive it was, but I'm super competitive myself. Like, I have an Excel spreadsheet of every forecast that I do. I try to stay, or my margin of error is first 3 days, I try to stay within plus or minus 3 degrees. And I think that that's, important to stay between. But yeah, I was not used to the competitiveness of weather around here, but I am a competitive person, played sports growing up, so I jumped right into that and I enjoy it. Yeah, I think it's definitely the challenging aspect of forecasting weather in Kentucky because, you can go from 60 degrees one day to snowing, and a blizzard the next day. So yeah, I think that adds to it. Also, I think there's just so many experienced meteorologists here. All the big TV markets in Lexington have extremely experienced meteorologists. So yeah, I think that adds to it too.
Okay, another one. You guys are the 36 Storm team. If you had to relate it to the 96 Bulls or to a dream team, who would be the Jordan, who's the Rodman, who's the Pippen of your all Storm team?
Oh, that's a good aspect. I would definitely say TG is our TG Shuck, our chief meteorologist. He's definitely the Michael Jordan, but he's also probably the Phil Knight because, not the Phil Knight, the Phil,
Phil Jackson.
Yeah, Phil Jackson. Yes, not Phil Knight. Yes, Phil Jackson. He's definitely the Phil Jackson of our weather team because he's super experienced. He worked in Lexington for about as long as I've been alive, so we really rely on him. I would consider me maybe the Dennis Rodman because I kind of pick at, not a lot of our meteorologists pick at, the competitiveness of other meteorologists, but I try to stick my foot into it every once in a while, so I would consider myself the Dennis Rodman. And Jordan Smith, our weekend meteorologist, he's a local kid. He's from Rockcastle County. So I don't really know who you compare him to on that Bulls team, you could say. But yeah, he's kind of the hometown boy, I would say. Whoever on that team was like Chicago born and raised, that would be Jordan.
Yeah. So you get in there and you throw bows, and you're gonna do some hair color changes too, like.
I've no joke asked if I could get frosted tips. I've been declined every time I've asked. But yeah, I don't know if I am the Dennis Rodman of meteorologists, but I'd like to one day become that.
Okay, another question for you. What's something interesting you do in between like weather hits, right? So you're here most of the day. What do you do to kind of pass the time? Are you kind of keeping up to date on certain systems that were coming, and then formulating your next kind of weather hit? What's sort of that process like for you?
Well, first after the morning show, because it's like back to back to back, we have hits every 10 minutes in the morning show. So I try to take a little bit of a break after that because some days it gets really intense, especially if there's active weather in the morning. So I try to take a little bit of a break, but then it kind of times out to where before our noon show, that's where all the next round of the models are coming in. So I really, an hour before our noon show, I'm trying to sit down, really look over the models, what's coming in the future. But yeah, definitely the break is needed sometimes because I'm just staring at a computer screen, repeating myself all morning long. Just need to take a break. I have my dog here most days. She's our weather dog, Misty the weather dog. So I take her for a walk, and that kind of relieves a little bit of that tension.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, we would love to see Misty show up on one of the weather broadcasts that you send to us sometime soon.
Yeah, she's still young. She's 6 months now, so we're still trying to teach her. But I've seen other stations that have weather dogs where, they do certain tricks with her during the weather forecast. So that's the goal to get with Misty. She's an Australian Shepherd, so she's a very intelligent dog. So that's the goal in the future for sure.
So talk us through a little bit of what this is like, what it was like for you to do this broadcast here.
Yeah, the farewell broadcast. Yeah, it was definitely a sad moment because there you're seeing me do my forecast when I was in 8th grade because I was not only leaving my first job but leaving home to take a different job, and I really grew in that career at that old TV station because 6 months into my job, that's when the pandemic hit. So it really became people I was working with because I couldn't go out and hang out with anyone else. Our newsroom there at the TV station became really close. So that was really hard. And Don, which is the anchor in that video there, he had become a big mentor for me. We still keep in great contact. Abby, which is also in that video, she's one of my best friends. So it was a tough day. It was holding back tears, really, was the biggest thing. And I also have learned, I'm wearing my red jacket there. That was always like my red jacket I try to wear. I try to not wear that, considering I need a Kentucky blue jacket. I try not to wear that red jacket anymore. Maybe on Valentine's Day or on 4th of July, that's when I bust that jacket back up.
As a Louisville graduate myself, I support it. So.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you had, was it Jason that was
Yes.
giving you kind of pointers through that? Yeah, that was really sweet to see, like during that weather broadcast where he was kind of coaching you through that.
That was I was really shy. I'm still pretty shy until you really get to know me, but in 8th grade, I was super shy. My hair was blocking my eyes, maybe because I didn't want to see anyone else around me. I was very, to myself. But yeah, he did try to walk me through giving that forecast, but he even tried to get me to say hi to my dad. There's no luck there. I just ignored him and kept on going. So that was funny. But yeah, that day really is what inspired me to do this as my job. So.
And hair choices wise, would you go back to the
again?
The Bieber
I've
look?
tried to suggest that, but yeah, it's been shot. I said frosted tips, but I'd also like to get a lightning bolt shaved in the side of my head.
Oh,
I think
I like
that would
it.
be awesome. It's weathered, but that's also one thing. Everybody says you don't want to be too distracting to what the weather's happening on the board behind you, which I think a lightning bolt on my head would be a little bit distracting. But yeah, I think a meteorologist with a lightning bolt shaved in their head, pretty iconic.
I like it. Truly iconic, and you are an icon for Around 10 and for our community. And Dillon, we really appreciate you taking time and talking to us today, and really appreciate all the awesome weather reports you sent to us.
Well, thank you guys for reaching out to me to do that. Again, I've become more familiar with Frankfort, going there a couple of times. I've really, since I moved to Kentucky, picked up on the bourbon industry here, so I'm heading to Frankfort all the time to all the different things there. Love Frankfort, love being you guys. Love that you guys have given me the chance to do the forecast for y'all.